Today on the show, we have Xavier with Prairie Wildlife. We're talking about a shotgun sport that's really wild. It's called Helice. This Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Ballistic Advantage, EOTECH Optics, and SAUER. Hey, welcome into Gun Talk Nation. Sometimes you just see something in the world of shooting and guns that just makes you cock your head to the side and go, I've never seen that before. That's different. So along those lines, today on the show, we've got Xavier. And Xavier, you are with an outfit out of Mississippi, Prairie Wildlife. But more specifically, what we want to talk about today is Helice, the U.S. Helice Shooting Association. And I'll let you kind of introduce it and explain what the heck this is and what are we talking about.
Hey, good morning, Ryan. I'm glad you asked that question. Helice, number one, is probably the fastest growing discipline of shooting in the United States, maybe even in the world. Basically, it is a more brittle plastic propeller-shaped wings with a more pliable, rubbery type of white witness cap snapped onto them. Object of the game is to separate that cap totally from the orange wings and have it fall inside a course.
Okay.
Shooters start from 26 meters from the machines. The machines are another 20 meters from the fence, and there's 5 of them out there in somewhat of a semicircle.
Okay.
So, you press a button, activates all 5 machines, and they oscillate up, down, side to side, and there are other little variables on that machine that can cause that target to be very, very erratic. And you say bird or pull, and one of those 5 machines will release a target in some direction.
Wow.
Your object is to separate it. It's very instinctive. It takes a lot of focus and a lot of gun control.
Wow. Okay, so it's a shotgun sport, and people think they may know skeet, they may know trap, they may know sporting clays, and this has a feel of pigeon shoots, a little bit like that.
Absolutely.
And which is probably one of the more interesting, challenging types of shotgun sports that exist or barely exist now. This is amazing. So 5 different traps and the target, and you described it, but when I look at this and you look up U.S. Helice Association, and you'll start seeing videos and photographs and all this stuff if you're listening to this, it has wings. And so it's not just a cylinder round clay bird. It flies very radically in all directions, but it can come from any of those 5 traps that are fired up and spinning, ready to go. So, I mean, this sounds pretty difficult.
It is. It's very challenging. To tell you how challenging it is, we were fortunate enough to be able to host the United States National Championship here this weekend, a 3-day qualifier, and we had a memorial shoot on a Thursday just as the lead-in. And out of basically 100 shooters shooting a race each for 3 days, we had 1 perfect score of 30. 30 targets is the actual race. And the targets weren't that fast, but they were challenging. Just a little bit of wind or a little gust changes things a lot.
So when they throw, I mean, I don't know if I'm using the right terminology. Do you call it throw a bird, throw a clay, throw a
bird?
Okay.
When the bird is
throw
released.
A bird. So for that to count as a hit dead bird, you have to knock the center out of it, and it has to fall within that semicircle?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Wow. Now, you guys held this is the U.S. Championship, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. So, I mean, how many shooters did you have out there? Tell me a little bit about how this thing went down.
We had from 97 to 105 shooters over the 3-day period. The number varied each day for various reasons. They've registered months ago to get a shooting number. We divided the group in thirds. We had 6 rings. So everybody each day had an opportunity to break 5 targets at each of the 6 rings. We did it in 10 bird cranks, whereas a third of the group started on ring 1 and 2, a third on ring 3 and 4, and a third obviously on 5 and 6. And it worked out pretty well because theoretically, when one group finished, each group should be finished. And they just, short pause, load the machines, clean up a bit, and you move to your next starting station. It's not often that I hear as many shooters beating themselves up, including myself, for missing the easy birds. There are some hard ones. There is a certain element of this particular discipline of shooting that is unfair, in that a bird can come out very, very low in straight line with that box and hide behind the box until it gets to the fence, and just like it's got eyes up and over.
Wow.
It takes a lot of discipline to sit there and wait on that bird to show its head.
Well, it's like, this sounds like it really, really simulates many types of upland hunting. That's got to be great practice.
It is. That's what's so unique about it. Anybody that becomes accomplished in this discipline of shooting is much better in every other discipline, including upland game hunting, even duck hunting. They're better.
Sure.
I can't necessarily say that other disciplines help as much with this one.
Now, the fence around, how tall is that fence has to fall inside?
Okay, so the ring is supposed to be very specific, but the terrain can throw you an optical illusion.
Okay.
Elevation from where a shooter stands to where the machines sit is absolutely 0. Elevation from where the machine sits to the top of the fence all the way around is 2 feet. So depending on the lay of the land, the fence could be 2 feet on this side, and it could be 3 feet or whatever on the other side.
Gotcha.
Which gives you the illusion of an unfair advantage or disadvantage, but it's not. It's just
well, everybody's shooting on these same rings, right? Everybody has to shoot
That's
it.
right.
That's what I was going to ask, Xavier. Is every ring the same, like sort of like a skeet field, or is every ring a little bit different, more like the stages in a sporting clays course?
Yeah, every ring is the same in that the actual specifications are the same and should be met. But every ring is a little bit different. There may be a ditch running through that ring, which, does things with turbulence when the bird crosses it. There may be a really close tree line that gives you the illusion that the ring is smaller when in actuality it isn't, but it works with your mind because it creates a sense of urgency. It'll make you shoot quick. Everything affects how you perceive that target.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you're shooting sporting clays on the side of a mountain or a hill or something, and they're throwing clays out into the nowhere distance. It really messes with your depth perception and
that's exactly correct.
Things.
Exactly right.
Man, so what's the background on this sport? How long has it been around? How did it get started?
Well, the sport's been around 40 years, maybe a little bit longer. It actually started in Europe. Pigeon shooting in Europe used to be a very elite sport, and it was actually outlawed everywhere except for Spain early on. And so they had to have something to do. Thus, the Spaniards came up with the ZZ Bird. The American version of it was called ZZ Birds much early on because the targets were made out of zinc, and when they fly, they kind of zigzag. And there's some other theories. It might have been named after a Spanish pigeon, and I would butcher the pronunciation of it, so I won't attempt it. But the main thing is, this game has evolved. The early machines all had two heads, and it was just like loading actual boxbird pigeons. After 5 presentations, runners had to go out there and load 5 targets on and get out of the way. Only difference is you didn't have to prick up the orange. And now it has evolved into several different types of machines. The machines that we use will hold 50 targets, which make it really nice when you've got 100+ shooters in July.
Right.
So
yeah,
things move along
run a big match.
pretty fast.
Yeah, you can run a big match that way. So Xavier, when we get back from this quick break, I want to talk about the gear being used and how it is the same or different from other shotgun sports. Sig Sauer has a new 22 pistol, the P322, and it's the most advanced, highest capacity 22 pistol in its class. And they've thought of a lot of features to put in this. First off, 21 round capacity, 20 rounds in the magazine, 1 in the gun. It's optics ready with a removable rear sight plate. It's also suppressor ready. You can actually put on a threaded barrel adapter, interchangeable trigger shoe, so you can swap between a flat trigger or curved triggers, fiber optic sights, ambidextrous controls. This sucker is ready to get to the range and plink, plink, plink. So check out the Sig Sauer P322. New from EOTECH is the EOTECH eFlex Mini Red Dot sight. Yep, it's a red dot sight, but it's from EOTECH. One of the things they've done on this, if you're used to the EOTECH holographic sights, they mirrored the window dimensions to what you're used to seeing on their holographic sights. So even though this is a very mini reflex sight, it still has that wider window, wider field of view. They've also done some nice things with the glass to kind of reduce and eliminate the tinting that you might see in other optics where it looks a little blue or a little red, depending on the coatings you put there. It's a very clear sight picture. So check out EOTECH's eFlex Mini Red Dot sight. Springfield Armory. Okay, they've got a lot of different striker-fired handguns, obviously the XDM, the XDS, the Hellcat, but right now, they have a deal going on. It's the Gear Up with 3 extra mags and a range bag for free with any new striker-fired handgun purchase. That's right. From now through the end of August, you can receive 3 extra magazines and a range bag free when you purchase any new Springfield Armory striker-fired handgun. If you want to find out more, just go over to springfield-armory.com. So, Xavier, this is a shooting sport, a shotgun shooting sport. How does the gear differ, or is it the same as far as the gauges, the chokes, the shotguns that people seem to prefer for shooting Helice?
Well, it's definitely a 12-gauge sport. There are a few people, young kids, beginners that may shoot 20, and there is a 28-gauge race. No reloads, 1-ounce shells, nothing larger than a 7.5. No 5s and 6s, 4s, no tungsten, no heavy shot. I believe in most sporting clay events, ounce and eighth is quite acceptable. Some people maybe even shoot a little bit heavier load. I wouldn't imagine shoot much more unless it's at a really long shot because it's a clay, and unlike a clay in this particular discipline, it takes a good bit of energy to separate that witness cap from the wings. 3-4 pellets will break a clay.
Right.
Most people, because of the energy that it takes to separate the witness cap, use truly fitted guns, whether they go to a fitter and have the stock dimensions cut and fit specifically to them, or they use guns with adjustable combs. They can move it over, left and right, up and down. And some even use ramp rip guns with adjustable barrels. So you can change the percent low or percent high that your gun shoot according to where you are looking.
But the shot is inconsistent, so it's not like a trap where it's basically always a raising shot and it's always
No.
straight away kind of thing. I mean, it's a little bit different. Now, are there doubles in this, or is it always a single bird?
In the sanction race is always single birds. There are games and other things that we do after the sanction race where you may put two shooters on the line, throw two birds, even three birds, which is really a lot of fun.
Wow.
Teams is always fun.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that'd be fun with teams. Now, I know in pigeon shooting, because it's so important for that pigeon to fall within that ring, shooters typically will shoot twice every time. Make sure the bird's
Yes.
like dead. Are you permitted to shoot twice, or is it two shots maximum? How's that work?
Yes, the maximum is two shots. You're allowed two shots at every bird. And if you shoot twice at every bird, you're not penalized for it. You, however, don't have to take the second shot if you clearly break it on the first shot. But as I tell everybody, shells is probably the cheapest part of this game. So you want to make sure you hit it.
Yeah, absolutely. So this reminds me of, there's a shooting instructor I've worked with, and he's really more honestly on the tactical side of things, but he has a phrase he likes to say when you have multiple targets or things you're dealing with, is to look at everything and see nothing. And I feel like if you're standing out there with 5 different machines whirling and ready to throw, it feels like you have to look at everything and see nothing.
Yeah, that's a very, very good saying. I will keep that one in my quiver.
Keep a soft focus on
exactly-
everything, right?
That's exactly right. You cannot focus on everything. And the great shooter acquires tunnel vision. When that target come out, I tell my students, soft focus until you find the target. Then lock in on the target before you move. And when you do start to move, don't see the whole target. See the white. See the center of the white. Thus, aim small, miss small.
Kind of like, don't look at the duck, look at the beak, look at the bill of the duck, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What other tips? I mean, you're a shooting instructor. What other tips are there that maybe are a little bit more specific to this particular shotgun sport?
In this shotgun sport, slow and smooth. Smooth
Okay.
is fast enough. Because of the erratic way that these birds can fly, it's never a good thing to move jerky or hurriedly. You want to be under control, so if that target makes a little bit of a move, you can make a little bit of a move with it under control. But the very nanosecond that your barrel and that target sync up, you got to pull the trigger. You can't refine it. You're not going to make it better. It's always a diminishing product.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so inconsistent. It reminds me of dove shooting, and any of us who've done a lot of dove shooting or certainly gone to Argentina, they fly very erratically and they swoop and move. And it's not like a clay that flies in a straight line. And you have to
That's
almost,
exactly right.
yeah, I think what you're saying, at least the way I hear it, is it's almost, you have to be a little bit non-committal. You can't just lock in and say, oh, it's flying in that direction. And your brain goes, yeah, it's going to be out here 6 feet ahead in 1 second. It doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. They change directions an awful lot. And you're very, very correct in where clay holds a straight line, these targets absolutely do not. Or they, more times than not, do not. They do every once in a while, but not often.
Xavier, after we get back, I'm going to take a quick break, but I want to talk more about Prairie Wildlife and what you guys have going on up there. Are you looking for a carry gun that's slim, lightweight, compact, easy to carry, and easy to shoot? Well, Ruger has you covered with the LC380. Yeah, it's a 380 ACP, which means a little bit less recoil for you, but not in a tiny package. It's still big enough to be very shootable. And that's what the LC380 is all about. Also, what you're going to find with this is it's a little bit easier to run this gun because they can actually reduce the strength it takes to run it. And it's going to be easy to carry because it's not going to weigh that much. It's kind of a compact package. So you can find out more about that gun and all the Ruger pistols over at Ruger.com. If you're thinking about building an AR, one of the places to start is Ballistic Advantage. They're kind of this company that those in the know, but if you don't know, check them out, ballisticadvantage.com. They've got barrels, uppers, lowers, parts, and the parts including, we're talking gas blocks, receivers, gas tubes, handguards, stocks, tools, even tools, bolt carry groups, all the stuff needed to build out your AR and customize it for your use. And that's why people love doing AR builds, because now you can pick the caliber, pick the barrel length, pick the style of handguard and stock and all those things to really customize it, whether you're doing 3-gun stuff, whether you're doing hunting, it doesn't matter. They have selections there over at ballisticadvantage.com. So Prairie Wildlife it's quite the place. I mean, this is the 2020 Wing Shooting Lodge of the Year from Orvis, which that's a big award. And the Orvis Lodges consistently are just fantastic places to go do hunting and wing shooting, whatever that's available. And to get Lodge of the Year is a big deal. Tell us more about Prairie Wildlife and all the things you guys have going on.
Well, Prairie Wildlife is a conservation-driven commercial hunting estate. We've got probably some of the very best quail hunting or any type of upland game hunting that you're going to find anywhere in the United States. There's an awful lot of research that has gone into having a huntable, sustainable population of wild bobwhite quails. Now, having said that, people that go wild quail hunting need to be truly quail hunters. The terrain gets kind of rough. Quails don't like pressure, and they will move where they can be left alone if we can find them. We do have another 600 or so acres where we do early release quail hunts, mixed bag hunts, which involve quail, Hungarian partridges, chukar, and pheasant, or just traditional quail hunts. Early release quail, I mean, we release hundreds and sometimes thousands of birds weekly. They're just out there. You never know what you're going to run up on. We are user-friendly to people with small disabilities. We have access to a track chair and apparatus that we can mount on our rangers to move people around that have mobility problems and ensure that they have the same opportunity to enjoy the great outdoors as anybody else. We also have a very, very nice tower where we do tower shoots, sometimes as many as 550 pheasants in the morning, same amount in the afternoon, big break for lunch, and get up the next morning and go out with our beautiful bird dogs and our great guides and have an opportunity to walk them up just like you're in Kansas. We've got, if you want to hunt any type of game, especially a game that's indigenous to this area, this is the place to be. We've got a staff that's eager to serve you. We got 5-star chefs day and night. Of course, I'm biased. You know, I do the shooting sport here. I do the gun fitting here. I also do the gun sales. We carry a lot of Resinis and we have a great partnership with Cesar Guarini and Orvis and most of your Italian shotgun makers.
Very nice.
So,
well, and you mentioned gun fitting, and I want to talk about that a little bit because I think for a lot of people, they get a shotgun, they go out and they shoot it, they go hunting, that's it, they're done. And I know you know, but I want you to explain how important fit is on a shotgun, because the rear sight of the shotgun is your eye and it has to line up perfectly when you mount the gun. Talk a little bit more about what goes into fitting a shotgun and what someone should expect.
Yeah, unfortunately, Brian, one size just doesn't fit all.
Never does.
Uh, it truly doesn't. If in the fit needs to be different for different disciplines. Obviously, if you're an upland game hunter, for instance, you're going to be going out in cool weather. You're going to have on a sweater or and a vest, at least sometimes a wax jacket or whatever. That adds a half inch or so. Which takes off a half inch or so from your length of pull. Length of pull is very important because unlike target shooting, which most people in America do pre-mounted, from hunting to aspect, you need to be able to go low gun. So the gun has to be so that when you start with it slightly, just ever so slightly tucked under your arm, and you go to mount it, you can move it out smoothly, never taking your eye off that bird. And when you get there, it's pointing where you're looking.
Right.
Oftentimes when people want a gun fit, actually, we take a tri-gun, which is a gun with many, many direct adjustments on it. You can change length of pull, drop at the heel, comb, pitch, so forth and so on. And, I'll take the gun, I'll have a person to mount it, check it and double check to make sure it's empty, look down the barrel, look at the distance from the cheek to the heel of their hand, looking down the barrel, see how much of the pupil I can see above the barrel. If they're looking down one side of the barrel, if they're looking down the other side of the barrel, see where it's hitting them in their shoulder. I'll try to get it close, and then we'll have them take a couple of shots from somewhere between 16, 20 yards at a patterning board. Use a grease patterning board. We'll check the pattern, and I try to make sure to tell them not to aim. See the bird,
Right.
kill the bird. From low gun to your cheek, when that gun hits your cheek, you are to shoot. And we use what we get when we shoot at that pattern board to adjust the gun. When we get it to average bird hunter would like a gun that shoots 60-40. Most of the, up and game birds in ground flush, they are gonna be on the rise. So you want to put most of your pattern bird above that bird. Once we get it there, I've got a device so I can measure drop, cast, pitch, so forth and so on. We give them the dimensions. I mean, we can order them a custom gun, or the dimensions are theirs to take anywhere.
And that's the neat part about getting your shotgun fit figured out, is then you have those measurements, and like you said, you could order a custom fit gun, or you could find a good stock fitter and take your existing guns. If you have a few that you like and they're conducive to it, you can get that fit. And then now unless you gain or lose a lot of weight, or something dramatic happens in your physique, that's your fit, and you can use that for the next 5, 10, 15 years. And
That's
then
right.
you have all your shotguns fit.
That's right.
Yeah. What's the hardest part about fitting a shotgun to somebody?
Honestly, getting to not aim. You just don't aim a shotgun. And it's very,
Right.
I mean, you're shooting at the patterning board. It's a stagnant target. That bird's moving and it's, butt, belly, beak, bang. So sometimes we get them close and then we'll, shoot at targets, go back to the board again. Sometimes I'll have them to start from one side or the other, mount and shoot. But once, you get them to hitting that, you get them close and get them to patterning consistently, it's easy to find the measurements.
Yeah, that key is it's almost like doing it with your eyes closed. You just look at that aiming point, look at it, mount the gun. When the gun touches your shoulder or your cheek, and you should just pull the trigger and let it just be a natural thing. Cause that's really what you want if you're shooting a bird or a clay, is you want to be able to move, mount, shoot, and not have to fight the gun. If you're like, oh, I'm always great on left to rights, or I'm always great on right to lefts, maybe you are, or maybe the gun fit is kind of biased that way, right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. You may be looking down a little bit more down one side of that barrel than the other. And, you know, if you're looking down the right side of the barrel, that left bird that's crossing hard may be in trouble. But that same bird crossing hard right's going to get away. You're going to be behind it. That's just the way it is.
Absolutely. So to find out more about all this stuff, you guys listening can go to prairiewildlife.com. Is that right, Xavier?
That's right.
Okay. And then the U.S. Helice Association would be another place, but just look it up. It's HELICE. Man, very cool. Very cool targets. I got to get up there and try this out. And one other question is, are there a lot of locations they can go around the country to find this shooting sport?
Not as many as there should be, but it's growing. Of course, here in West Point, Mississippi, there is a course in Jackson, Mississippi, Selwood, Alabama, Dallas Gun Club, several places around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Houston, Stockton, there are places there. And Carolina, Georgia.
And it looks like California has quite a few locations as well, even all the way out there.
Yeah, California's pretty well known for it.
Okay. Well, it's just really neat. I'm glad you came on to talk to us about this. Xavier, thanks for being on with us.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me. And just please remember, for all of your shooting desires, think about Prairie Wildlife.
There you go. That's it for us. If you're wanting to find out more, you can just look that stuff up. Very cool. It's always fun to talk about new things in the world of shooting sports. So we appreciate you listening, and we will see you next time on Gun Talk Nation.